Chael Sonnen. It is good to see you.
It's good to be seen.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm almost seeing Sasquatch here. You're like this mythical creature, Chael Sonnen, returning. It's almost fitting that you're back in the limelight. It's a UFC weekend, and you just received some good news because you are free to fight.
Yeah, that is correct.
The suspension has been lifted.
I had a suspension, I got another suspension, and all the suspensions, all the red tape is in the past. It's all behind me.
Does it feel as though a weight has been lifted off your shoulders here?
If you're a professional athlete, you don't have the right to complain about anything. You know, and I hear these guys come out and they're crying and they're whining and it's poor me. And I've always thought, what a wonderful world you must live in if that is a big deal. You know, with all the things that are going on and the adversity that a person has to face, and you've got to learn to deal with that stuff. And you know, just because you get a little negative press or you end up in a little red tape here or there, you got to know how to deal with that if you're going to get anything done in this world. I can't imagine. I mean, I watch just average folks have bigger problems with a day being a good husband or being a good father. Look, I'm a professional athlete. I'm not entitled to do that. I have an opportunity to do it. It's a luxury, and nobody owes that to me. And I've never felt like a victim in this whole thing. It was a nuisance, but that's where it ends.
You say it's a luxury, though, but was there a point where you thought you might never get a shot to fight again, another shot? Because it seemed as though for a while, one thing after the next was piling on you.
Yeah, well, yeah, probably. You know, it's hard to completely remember all the different emotions that you go through, or, you know, you get a call one day that says one thing and it makes you think, well, it looks like it's the end of the line. And then understanding the rules is tough too. Somebody tells you you're suspended, you get information from one state, you trust that, and then you learn, oh, that's not exactly right, or maybe that was relayed to me wrong, maybe I interpreted it wrong. So the rules and the process constantly changes, and so does your mentality. Where, you know, so yeah, there was times where I thought, well, this might be the end of the road. It was up and down, and that was probably the hardest part with the emotional, because it was highs and it was low, and it was so drastic. There was nothing ever steady about it. You know, it was either, oh man, I got some really good news. Say, oh wow, did I get some bad news?
Your name has obviously been in the news this week because your suspension expired and you're free to fight. Also came in the news because people started to link your story to that of Nate Marquardt's because testosterone replacement therapy came up, and you were kind of the first fighter where this really came up and we started to learn more about it. What's your take, if you have any, on what happened to Nate Marquardt with him getting released and suspended and whatnot in Pennsylvania?
Well, you know, let me preface any statement I make with two things. First off, all I can really do is kind of guess, to say, well, this is what I think, because I don't actually know. And secondly, to say Nate is a very good guy. Behind everything you see, he's a good guy. He loves his family. He's good to his wife. If he tells you something, you can trust him. He's a good, nice, kind person. And all I know about it is what I saw on your show. And I think that Nate was very forthcoming and honest. I think it's important to understand Nate did not break any rules. He did not fight with an illegal substance or a banned substance of any kind. At the same time, I left that interview thinking, okay, Nate, I believe you. I believe everything you just said. I also think there's a couple of things you haven't said. I don't know that. But from my own opinion, from my office watching that on my laptop, I thought there was a couple of things that probably still haven't come out.
One last thing on this. Are fighters abusing TRT in your opinion? Are there people who are, because you've talked about it that this is a medical condition, you need this. Are there people in your opinion in this sport and in sports in general who are abusing this and using this as a PED?
I can tell you the frustration I had with mine is when you look at the rules and you say, okay, I'm a rule guy, I'm a rule follower, I'm going to follow this rule. Here's what I need to do if I'm going to be on this medication. So you come forward and you start the big fire. You wave the big flag, you show this is what I'm doing. Then they use that against you. That's where it becomes very frustrating. I think because of that, there's a lot of guys that are going, hey, listen, I'm going to do this. I'm just not going to come forward like Chael did. I'm not gonna do it correctly. I'm gonna hide it because these guys at the commission are gonna punish me. They're gonna use it against me. And so I think I'll leave it at that. But I think that if the commissions don't like the rule, then please, by all means, change the rule. But don't allow somebody to do something and then turn the gun on them and say, you did this and you shouldn't have. When I'm going, well, wait a minute, you said that I could. It's right there in your rules. So I think that makes it tough.
UFC 132 is this Saturday night. The co-main event features Chris Lieben versus Vanderlei Silva. Both those fighters fight in your weight class, and of course, you have had your issues with Vanderlei over the past year. Is that the fight now that you're a free man that you really have your eye on in terms of what's next for you?
For media attention, but not for reality. Vanderlei's never in a million years going to sign to fight me. I don't think he beats Chris Lieben tomorrow. Look, Vanderlei Silva has the worst record in the history of the UFC. Not just Zuffa owned. Take it back to the SCG days. There has never been a fighter to have 2 wins and 7 losses and to stay employed in this company. I believe he will be 2-8 tomorrow night. So I can't imagine how he could get on the docket with me. So no, I don't think Vanderlei's paths are going to cross.
We spoke to Vanderlei on Wednesday, and we asked him about you, and he said that obviously not a big fan of yours. He said that he wants you next, and when you do meet, his quote was, he will kill you and he will kill you fast. I'm wondering if you saw that interview, and what do you think of him saying that?
Vanderlei, you are an immigrant from Brazil. I am a gangster from America. Are you sure you want to play that game with me? Listen, Vanderlei, I will do a home invasion on you. I will cut the power to your house, and the next thing you hear will be me climbing up your stairs in a pair of night vision goggles I bought in the back of Soldier of Fortune magazine. I'll pick the lock to the master room door, take a picture of you in bed with the Nogueira brothers working on your jiu-jitsu. I'll take said photograph, post it at www.dorksfrombrazil.com. Password, not required. Username, not required. That, Vanderlei, is how you threaten somebody, dummy. Here's what all that needs to be done with Vanderlei. It's as simple as this. Take a contract that says Vanderlei versus Chael Sonnen and have him sign that with your cameras rolling. He won't do it. Wouldn't fight Brian Stann, wouldn't fight Vitor Belfort, barely agreed to fight Chris Lieben, and he loves to talk tough, and I understand it, and we're in that business. But if we're being fair, take him a contract that puts him opposite of me, put a pen in his hand, roll the camera, and he will not sign it.
Why not?
Because he's scared and he sucks. This guy's delusional. This guy thinks his 22 wins in Japan were real. With a referee with an earpiece. Look, Vanderlei, you didn't win those fights in Japan. You had one fight in Japan, dummy. It was with Charles Crazy Horse Bennett and you got knocked out. But then again, when you got a guy so delusional that he really thinks he won those fights in Japan, nobody's like let him in on the gag. Hey Vanderlei, you didn't really win those. When you get a guy that delusional,
What do you mean by that? That he didn't win?
you know good and well what I mean by that. You know good and well, Ariel. You answer that question. Vanderlei's going to go 22 straight wins in Japan and he can't win 2 straight in America. Mirko Cro Cop's going to win all those fights in Japan. He can't beat anybody in America. Fedor's going to win all those fights in Japan and he's 3-2 in America. And one of those wins is over a guy that was flipping tires at Sam's Club the month before. Who's the latest guy? Yamamoto. Kid Yamamoto. 10 years they told us this is the greatest featherweight to ever live. He can't win a round in the UFC, let alone a fight. The only fighter to ever, from Japan, the only Japanese fighter to ever cut it in the US is Yushin Okami, and he's the only fighter to never go through the Japanese circuit. The Japanese circuit is fake. It's always been fake. None of those guys won those fights. They never won those fights. Vanderlei Silva, 22-0. Mirko Cro Cop, one leg cemetery, one leg, whatever. Well, what happened, Mirko? What happened to your legs? Nothing happened. The referee's not wearing an earpiece. The promoter didn't come in the back and tell your opponent when to go down. That's what happened. I lost my motivation. No, you didn't. You suck. You suck just like Fedor sucks. You suck just like Vanderlei sucks. Big difference when that referee's real, isn't it, Ariel?
I think a lot of these Brazilian fighters are annoyed or disappointed or upset with you because you have taken shots at their home country. You said that stuff, I believe...
Ariel, I got to cut you off right there. That's an accident. And I do feel bad about that. And if I could somehow set that straight on your show, let me. But you have to understand, if I say something in a very private manner that isn't intended for a certain audience, come on, you can't hold that against me. I picked my medium very carefully when I talked about Brazil. I went to the internet. And if I had the foggiest idea that they had computers in Brazil, I wouldn't have done that. I really didn't know. I was in Las Vegas when the Nogueira brothers first touched down in America. There was a bus this is a true story. There was a bus that pulled up to a red light, and Little Nog tried to feed it a carrot while Big Nog was petting it. He thought it was a horse. This really happened. Do you believe me that happened?
Not really.
He tried to feed a bus a carrot. And now you're telling me that country has computers? I didn't know that. I did not know that.
When's the last time you went to Brazil?
I was just there.
Right. Did you receive any heat for your comments?
No, of course not. They love me in Brazil. Here's Vanderlei's problem. Vanderlei left Brazil, didn't he? He doesn't live in Brazil. He tries to claim Brazil, but he lives in Las Vegas. He tries to claim Brazil, but a North American company made him a millionaire. He claims he loves Brazil, but he put his kids into an American school system. Lives in Brazil, lives in America, employs Americans, pays taxes in America, and then when it's convenient, claims Brazil. When it's convenient, when he's got Joe Flip Phone, all of a sudden he doesn't even speak English. He only speaks this mumbled English where you got to put subtitles. Well, he runs a business. He speaks just fine English when you walk in his door and he shakes your hand and says, "Thanks for coming." These guys are phonies, and the Brazilian people know that. The Brazilian people don't want him. They know he left them. They know he abandoned them. They want me because I outed him, I shut him up, and I went to their country. I love their country, and I spent money in their country, and that's a lot more than Vanderlei Silva can claim.
So who do you want next?
I want an easy fight. Anderson Silva, Vanderlei Silva. Either of the Silvas. Bigfoot Silva. They all suck. Give me a Silva.
You say you want an easy opponent next, and any of the Silvas will do. Vanderlei, Bigfoot, Anderson Silva. And since you last fought Anderson, even though you almost beat him, he's still considered by most the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world.
The best what?
Pound-for-pound fighter in the world.
All right, hold on. I'm sorry, you can finish your thought in a second. You know what drives me insane lately? Everybody's talking about this pound-for-pound thing. Who the best pound-for-pound fighters? Guess what? There's no such thing. There's no pound-for-pound tournament. There's no championship called pound-for-pound. There's no belt. There's no organization. There is no such thing as pound-for-pound. That's a new topic. I turn on a show, it doesn't matter what the sports channel is, there's a pound-for-pound list. Well, guess what? It doesn't exist. They got a guy named Jose Aldo, who, for some odd reason, has got the whole world to now call him Jose Aldo, ranked number 3 pound for pound. Jose Aldo, 3 pound for pound. They anointed him UFC champion. He never fought in the UFC, and he was the UFC champion. The only thing more absurd than that is the night they woke Matt Hughes up and informed him he was the world champion. It is ridiculous. There's no such thing as pound for pound. There's not. It's this mythical thought, and the people that sit around and attempt to create a pound for pound list are one step away from the same people that sit around and discuss the different possible integers as to why Batman could beat Superman. It's impossible to know. It's a ridiculous topic. Well, this guy in his prime versus this guy in his prime. Nobody gets out of their prime. They just suck. Nobody passes their prime. They just can't beat the next generation. And most of them never could in the first place. How long were we told that Mike Tyson was the baddest guy in the world? All along, Evander Holyfield was there though, wasn't he? And he wouldn't fight him. When he finally did, he got destroyed. So I guess Evander's the best, isn't he? Wrong. Because Lennox Lewis was there the whole time and Evander wouldn't fight him. These guys all hide. They all duck and dodge. Anderson Silva, who I think I heard you mention is pound for pound, whatever that means, best, ducked me for 6 years. Have you heard the things I say about him? Those are fighting words. Those are fighting words from the time I was a kid in the 3rd grade through the time I'm a 30-year-old man right now. If somebody says it about you, you must fight him. And he ducked me for 6 years. Yushin Okami beat him, and he ducked him. Paulo Filho beat him in practice, so he ducked him. Lyoto Machida beat him in practice, so he became good friends with him and won't fight him. These guys are phony, and so's your pound for pound list. What was your question?
Well, I was going to ask you, now that you bring it up, if you would have beaten Anderson, a lot of people would have considered you the best pound for pound.
If I would have beat Anderson, did you watch that fight? In what parallel universe can you punch a man 300 times? He wraps his legs around your head for 8 seconds and they declare him the winner. In my hometown, on the streets of Westland, Oregon, if you lay on your back with your legs wrapped around a man's head for 8 seconds, that does not make you a winner. That makes not a winner.
What do you make of this whole Steven Seagal influence, especially with Machida and Anderson? Are you believing this story that he's teaching them these moves?
Lyoto Machida is in by far the easiest weight class in the history of combat sports, okay? What short-term memories we have. If I would have come to you 4 years ago and told you a karate guy is going to rule the UFC, you would have told me I was ridiculous. If I told you a karate guy with a disgruntled, has-been, never was that good, B-level actor in his corner is going to headline a UFC, you would have told me I was ridiculous. You would have said maybe in Japan where it's not real, but not here, okay? He gets away with it, and not because he's good, but because that division is that bad. That's the truth. As far as Anderson goes, yeah, you know, I guess he sees his career coming to an end. He wants to get in a couple of movies that are going to play at 2 a.m. with a voiceover. So he befriends Steven Seagal. I don't really get what the big deal is. I don't see what's so neat about it. You know, he stands on one foot, he kicks a guy with one leg. Joe Rogan goes bananas, but that doesn't mean that that's a hard move to pull off.
Is George St. Pierre boring?
No, he's fantastic.
So you're not buying this that he's playing it safe and...
No, well, here's what you got to understand. 25 minutes is too long. Period. There's nothing in the world I want to do for 25 minutes. I don't want to listen to my favorite song for 25 minutes. I like chocolate cake. I do not want to eat chocolate cake for 25 minutes. I want to eat it for 2 to 3 minutes and move on with my day. 25 minutes is too long, and if you put him in that environment, he must do what he must do to preserve energy to get through that situation. George St. Pierre has been plenty of 15-minute fights, and they were fantastic to watch. And as far as playing it safe, yeah, I don't think that's an insult. It's not as pleasing to watch as it could be, but I don't know if that's an insult to him.
Your buddy, your new buddy, Yushin Okami, is fighting Anderson. You think he'll win?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Yushin Okami's the real deal. Look, they fought before and Yushin won. Yeah. You know, people love to say disqualification. Well, guess what? Disqualification's a win. Okay? And another thing, Ariel, you tell me Anderson Silva didn't know he was cheating before he cheated? Anderson did not like the way that fight's going, and he tried to get himself disqualified. I fought his buddy Paulo Filho, tried the same thing. He knew I didn't know you could do that. Well, sure you did, Anderson. This isn't an LA riot. It's a cage fight. You knew the rules. You know exactly what you're doing, and you knew if you did that, you'd get disqualified. And you did. And in 5 years, he's never tried to get a rematch. In 5 years, Anderson's never tried to rectify that loss. In 5 years, he ducked Yushin Okami. Now he's got to fight him. He didn't want to fight him here. He tried to say, you're not the #1 contender. I'm not going to fight you. And Dana said, you are going to fight him. Anderson doesn't want this fight. He didn't want it the night he had him. He cheated that one night to get disqualified. He lost, and he's going to lose again.
Will you be in Brazil with Yushin when he fights Anderson?
Do you remember when I said he fed the bus a carrot?
I do.
Were you even listening? Is this thing on? Is this on? And then the other one was petting the bus, saying, whoa, big fella. He thought it was a horse. And now you're telling me they have computers in Brazil? That's crazy to me. What was your question?
Will you be in Brazil with Yushin when he fights Anderson?
Absolutely.
Really?
Of course. Wouldn't miss it.
Thanks for the time.
It's a pleasure.
It's good to see you.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Do you remember when I said horse a minute ago? But it was actually a bus, and both the do you?
Yes.
You remember that?
I do.
They truly have computers. I really didn't know that.